Oddly enough, like when the EU put all the sanctions and whatnot at the start of the war, people were saying the ruble was going to collapse, and you know
It didn't.
It did fucking well. It fared well.
Yeah.
You know.
And there's another podcast I'm listening to called the Duran podcast. So there's this guy, Jeffrey Sachs, on All In podcast. So he hasn't been on in a while because he got elected to be something to do with crypto, but he's working in the Trump cabinet now.
Nice.
So he hasn't been on in a while, but he was saying that, so he suggested a podcast called Duran podcast for geopolitics.
Mm-hmm.
And they were talking about, so Trump is going to meet with Putin, and Europe is freaking out because like, we don't want you meeting with Putin without us there. Trump's like, it's got nothing to do with you.
Yeah, seriously.
And the hypothesis of the podcast was Europe, they know they're on the decline.
Yeah.
And they almost, this is what they said. Now, whether this is true or not, I don't know. But he's like, they want the war to continue. The neocons in America want the war in Ukraine to continue because it will keep the U.S. involved in Europe. If U.S. are not involved in Europe at all militarily, they're in a lot of trouble because they don't have an army.
It's true. And that's why they're talking right now of
Yes.
creating an EU army, like a European army.
They'll never get their act together.
Of course not. It's Europe.
Yeah, they're not going to get their act together. So they're almost, the point of the podcast was it's crazy. They want the war to keep the Americans present in Europe so that they can have defense.
It's fucking wild, eh?
I'm sure it's probably like exaggerate a little bit, but there's also, this is why Trump is, why the international community, the globalists, are freaking out, because he isn't really fond of NATO. He isn't really fond of all these foreign wars.
Yep.
He's not fond of a lot of this stuff. And he wants to be America first. He wants to be, like, I guess would you agree that we could call him an isolationist? Like, it's kind of just, let's take care of America first. All the other stuff is secondary.
You know what's fucked up? How people are going to call that isolationist. I call it just wanting to put your country first. As a duly elected head of state, you should want the best for your country first, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what blows my mind about what's going on in politics throughout the world, the globe. Every country, you look at the elected leaders, it doesn't seem like they have the best interest of their people at heart.
They don't.
And we've gotten so accustomed to it now, we're kind of like apathetic to it all.
Yeah.
But then a true outsider, Trump, comes into office and says, it's going to be America first. Come hell or high water. I don't care if it hurts other economies and other countries. We'll put ourselves first, and then we'll help them. And I think he does want to help the world in general.
I think he does.
But first it comes through America, because his mandate, his duty is to the American people.
Yeah. And he wants
How is that controversial, though?
Yeah, I agree. And let's stay on Trump. You know, he's getting elected. He's getting sworn
America's
in today.
back, baby.
America's back. Let's start. I didn't really talk about Trump, and I kind of completely forgot that. Today's the inauguration. So as we speak, today's January 20th. Yeah.
As an hour and a half ago, we got a new president.
So a new president of the United States. This is kind of cool. Number one, I got to give credit. You got to give credit where credit's due. Like him or hate him, pretty fucking badass.
What a comeback.
Seriously.
What a comeback.
Like that this is going to go down in the history books. I don't think that's ever happened where there was a president-elect, lost the next election, and then came back. Has that ever happened?
Only once before.
Once.
Don't ask me which president. I just know it was once.
Okay.
But I mean, he's the guy who wrote the book, The Art of the Comeback. And God, he lived up to it. I read his first book, just, The Art of the Deal. I mean, it's okay. It's nothing special. It's okay.
Yeah. I'm sure he marketed it like a boss. He's a good salesman.
God, he's good. He's good.
He's a good salesman.
He's good at branding and marketing and selling. This guy's insane. He really is the best, you know. But he also wrote a book, The Art of the Comeback, because in, I don't know, the 80s or the 90s, but he was going bankrupt. Like, shit was not good. He was famously, there's a story about him. He's walking down the streets of Manhattan with some broad next to him.
Yeah, I heard
and
this.
He comes across a bum on the street, right? A beggar.
Yeah.
And he points to him. He says, see, this guy is $400 million richer than me. You know?
You got to give the guy credit, man.
He refuses to quit. He refuses
to quit. And I saw a really good clip. I think I mentioned this last time, but I saw a really good clip of him too. So he's up on the podium. He's talking. He's doing his thing. He's rambling. And he goes, depression. You want to know how you get rid of depression? You work your ass off. You'll forget all about your depression. And it's true, you know? It's like an idle mind is a devil's workshop. So keep yourself busy. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm super happy with, I just got back from Florida. Florida, I'll tell you this, night and day, just the attitude in the state is night and day compared to Canada.
The
Canada
energy's different.
Oh, way different, man. maybe I'm a little bit biased because, I'm on vacation, I'm hanging around. So that is something to be taken into consideration too. But just walking around, speaking to the people, I went to go play at a couple golf courses. Just everything seems to be like, up and at 'em. Everyone's moving, everyone's happy. They have a new president. And it's cool this time around just to see Donald Trump, all of the corporations, and we'll get into this to talk a little bit about Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook and Meta and kind of the 180 turn that they took.
Yeah.
But the corporate America today is treating Trump as they would any other president, and they're actually playing ball with him.
Yeah.
It's a completely different scenario than the first time when he got elected in 2016. People were freaking out. People didn't want to be associated with Donald Trump, and this time around,
people were resisting him.
Big time. And I don't think they were resisting him necessarily because they actually disagreed with his policies. I think they didn't want to be, they didn't want to be anywhere involved with Donald Trump because they were afraid of the backlash that they would get if they were somehow associated with Donald Trump.
Yeah.
So it seems to be a lot more cooperative, I guess would be the word.
Now.
Yes.
It's a different ballgame.
Everyone, I think we're turning the page. I'm sorry, I'm rambling, but I'll let you go right after this. I think we're turning the page. The West is turning the page. All this woke nonsense is on the way out.
The woke mind virus is dying.
It's dying.
Yeah.
People have had enough of it. People are done with cancel culture. And it's good to see now, whether you love him or hate him or disagree with his policies, I like to see the camaraderie that's going on right now in the U.S.
No, it's
infectious.
It is infectious.
Yes.
The energy you feel when you go to the U.S. is night and day. And, you just came back from vacation. I lived in the U.S. in Florida for a couple of years. And holy fuck, being able to rub shoulders with people over there and just their mentality, the day-to-day. The typical person you'll cross at the gym has an outlook on life that is vastly different than Canadians here. And people are go-getters. Today during the inauguration, Trump said something. He said something like, let this be proof that impossible is nothing, And you got to give it to him. That's the spirit of America. There are people who, from the get-go, overcame the odds and crushed impossible. I mean, from 13 little puny colonies facing the world's largest military ever to, a bunch of rebels, effectively, to eventually becoming a sovereign nation, to conquering the entire continent and to becoming the world's superpower. I mean, they've overcome the odds over and over and over again. And that's a spirit that people embody over there. Just listening to during the holidays, family and I were just like around the table and we're listening to national anthems just for shits and giggles between different countries. And the U.S., it tells a story, right? It's a poem actually that was written during, I believe it was the Civil War or something like that. And it was a guy in a fort, and it was being bombarded overnight, and he wrote a poem.
Yeah, it's a story about like getting your ass whooped.
Exactly, and then realizing that your flag is still there. There's hope, right?
Yeah.
You listen to like the fucking Soviet song, whatever. It's very like patriotic, and then you got Canada. It's like our home and native land. Woo, we're free. It's not the same. We don't have the same kind of mentality here.
No.
And, as much as you want to hate, and a lot of people do, they hate the American kind of like exceptionalist mindset. They think they're the best, but fuck, it gets them places. It really does.
It definitely does. And that's one thing that I have an issue with some Canadians whenever they start shitting on America. Number one, the amount of defense that we actually receive from the Americans. We have security guarantees from the United States. Would you rather be neighboring China, for example, or other country, or Russia, or would you rather be neighboring the United States? Our standard of living is drastically increased because of the United States. And look, you don't have to agree with gun laws. You don't have to agree with all their policies and stuff. But I hate when Canadians start complaining about Americans. And are some Americans obnoxious? Yes, of course, some Americans are obnoxious. Like if you go to a football game or something, like just see a bunch of Americans, they're all hammered out of their head. Whoa, yeah, let's go. I get it. But also, too, I would not want to be neighbors with any other company besides the United States. I love going to the United States. There's so many people. You can find what it is that you're looking for. And we take for granted the fact that we are located next to the United States. I think we should be appreciative of the fact that we live next to them. We have the quality of life thanks to them. Our economy piggybacks off of the United States. We're the biggest trading partner. There are so many benefits to being next to the United States. I like being Canadian, not recently, but like overall, I want to fight for the values that we have or had 10 years ago. But yeah, I'm happy that we're neighbors with the United States. I think it's a great country to be neighbors with.
I love the U.S. I would relinquish my citizenship any day to become American. I'm maybe a little bit more extreme than some people, but I like the ethos that they live by.
Yeah.
And even if we enter like a little bit more nitty gritty, just their constitution. Yeah. The Constitution of the U.S. and the laws of the United States, for me, night and day compared to Canada. And the example I like to use is in the U.S. Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments, which are the rights, of citizens, it's actually not rights given to citizens. None of them. Because under the U.S. Constitution and the framework of government, the citizens of the U.S. are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights. Mm-hmm. So the government, the people, cannot give rights to people who have them already. Rather, the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments, are restrictions put on the government. You mentioned guns. I'm a gun owner. There's no surprise here. But let's use the Second Amendment. It's not that people have a right to own guns. No. It's that, Congress shall make no laws, restricting, possessing gun, Yeah. Same thing with freedom of speech. It's not you're allowed to say what you want. Is that Congress shall make no law abridging freedom of speech or, expression, whatever you name it. Switch it to Canada. We look at Canada and our Charter of Right and Freedom. It's quite the opposite. It's you have the right to do this. You have the right to do that. So one, it's the government giving you the right.
That was my question. And
so it's the government giving you the right. But to me, it's null and void from the get-go because Article 1 of the Canadian Charters of Rights and Freedom states that none of these rights, are like, I guess you could say, not ultimate, but like supreme. God. Yeah. It's that those rights are not supreme, and they can be abridged or it can be taken away under normal course of law as long as it's like reasonable. And that's what was used during the pandemic to legitimately stampede on most people's freedoms that were protected by the Charter. It's just that it's not ultimate, it's not supreme, whereas in the U.S., it is. So for me, just that basis right there makes the world of a difference. And it does not make me proud to be Canadian because I believe in freedom above anything else. It is my ethos, my number one core value is freedom and liberty. So I lean more towards the US for that. Now, with freedom and liberty comes risk. And that's where I think a lot of Canadians have an issue. We talk about guns, but we talk about like healthcare. We talk about, sometimes violence. I don't think there's more necessarily violence in the US unless there's a few little cities with gang violence. But with freedom comes risk. With freedom also comes inequality. And this is another thing, too, that we have a hard time with Canadians. It's the inequality part. But oddly enough, freedom always will bring inequality. You take 100 people and you dump them on an island, right? Things will become unequal. It's normal. Some people are more go-getters than others. Some people are entrepreneurs. Some people rather be lazy. Some people want to coast in life and other people want to accomplish their dreams. It's fine. With freedom comes inequality. That's not a problem. To me, that's a feature of freedom. When you try to push equality on everyone, you restrict and abridge freedom.
Yeah, there's a big difference between having equality of opportunity and equality of outcome. And I find the Canadian government and a lot of left-leaning governments recently, and this is one of the reasons why people said, get out of here, they want equality of outcome. So they want everyone to be the same afterwards. Give everyone the same opportunity. And like you said, if everyone has the same opportunities, not all are going to be equal because some people are going to work harder than others. Some people, let's be honest, are smarter than others. They're probably going to go ahead, get ahead of others as well. But having a society that has equality of outcome is essentially communism. That is communism, equality of outcome. Everyone has the same job. Whether you're a doctor or a garbage cleaner, you're going to get paid the same amount of money. That's equality of outcome. That's
every
not
single
a society.
Government.
Yes, but what ends up happening is the government is the one to dictate what you are or are not allowed to have. That's the part where there always is. I've thought about this a lot. It's philosophical. There will always be a hierarchy. There has to be, because we're just humans. It's the same thing in the animal kingdom. This is just how it works. And even with communism, which on paper, there is no hierarchy, the government is the owner of all. Yeah. And what ends up happening with human behavior is they are the ones to start dictating the rules and tell people how they're allowed to live. There's still a hierarchy. The government's the first and everyone else. So we can't get away from hierarchies. If you want to make everything flat, you can try for a little bit. Maybe it'll work for a little bit. Ultimately, it won't over time. And just, there has never been a happy ending to a communist state.
Never. The only time that equality exists is when there is inequality brought forth by the government. You take away freedom to put equality in place. Yeah. But then, again, and you're completely right, human beings, psychologically, we're hierarchical creatures.
Yes.
We always form hierarchies. Again, you take 10 people, put them on a deserted island, a hierarchy will emerge.
Yes.
It's just, that's fucking interesting. I saw this video. They took a bunch of boys and a bunch of girls, and they dumped them in a fucking abandoned house. Okay?
How old were they?
Like 10 or 12 years old. Okay, it was hilarious.
I think I saw this.
Yeah. First of all, the interesting thing is that the way girls and guys kind of created their own little society, vastly different. Okay. At first, the girls were
especially before puberty, it'd be probably a lot different. Yeah.
But the girls at first were doing much better and were faring much better than the boys, right? They were a little bit more orderly. The boys were like going crazy, like fucking playing with a bunch of things. But soon enough, there was a lack of leadership, and there were cliques that were formed, and then it just became like pretty much like a cat fight between the little cliques, and nothing was getting done. All right. The boys at first, they had all that adrenaline, that like energy, right? Typical little boys. But eventually a hierarchy formed, right? And then they started working together and ensuring that, you know, things were running properly in the house, right? Again, as kids, don't expect like them to, you know, to do anything major, but still it was orderly-ish, right? So hierarchies form naturally, and without it, we're nothing. I mean, any country that's ever operated, it's worked, companies, military. I mean, the military is one of the most hierarchical kind of organization ever, and they deal with some of the hardest and most complex logistical issues ever, and the most chaotic too. In the middle of a war, when you're losing your chain of command, people are dying, there's the fog of war, things are blowing up left and right, and there's uncertainty left and right, up and down. Well, you need to have some form of order in the chaos. Hierarchies work for that, you know? So hierarchy is not bad. The issue again is that some people end up at the bottom of it and they get a little mad, but they realize that they're probably responsible for their fucking
there's that. And I was listening to this clip a couple of weeks ago by Charlie Munger. So Charlie Munger just died, for those of you that don't know. He was Warren Buffett's right-hand man.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, he was awesome how blunt he was. But he talked about, and Warren Buffett has talked about this as well, the standard of living for someone today at the bottom of the food chain in America or Canada or Western civilization is far better from the richest person that lived 200 years ago. You have access to healthcare, you have access to food, you have access to education, generally speaking, but you have access to a lot more things that are going to benefit your standard of living. So again, the main point, people today, even if you're poor, have a better standing of living than a rich person 200 years ago. Or I would even argue 100 years ago.
Oh yeah. You know who spoke about that? Margaret Thatcher.
Yeah.
She said, and don't quote me because it was such a perfect quote and I'm going to butcher it, but she said something along the lines of, the socialist would rather we all fare worse as long as we're equal than to have capitalist-free economies where we're all doing better, but there is a discrepancy between the richer and the poor, but everyone's doing better.
But there's like his point was there's a human behavior where we envy what other people have that will never change. This is just how humans are. Yeah. Personally, for myself, if I go in somewhere and I see someone who's really rich and they have nice cars and they have nice houses, for me, I don't get jealous. It actually motivates me a lot. I'm sure it's the same thing for you.
It's motivation.
But there are a lot of other people too that would see that and go, why do they have this and I don't? So I think there's two types of people, maybe because we're both more entrepreneurial than I think the average person. That's probably why we think like that. But yeah, it's very interesting because people go, you know, things are breaking, things are shit, things are this, things are that. And for as much as we complain about everything for like what it could be, you know, that's never going to stop. But at the end of the day too, you know, someone who's poor today has more than someone who was rich 200 years ago.
Big time. For me, it comes from hockey, as a matter of fact, because I was taught from a very early age that the best way to improve is to practice with people that are better than you. And at one point, I was supposed to play, because in hockey, you play always like people 1 to 2 years older than you. And I skipped a season. This season, I was supposed to be the oldest age group. I think it was like Adam, my second year of playing Adam. I skipped it to go play with a different team that's not my home team. I was Lakeshore. I went to go play for West Island, but I was not allowed to actually play for West Island. I was just the training goalie. Every practice I was there, never played a game because I was not allowed to, but it was with guys that were 2 or 3 years older than me. So it was an age group like above. And I did that because I believed, and my coaches believed at the time, that taking a season off from playing games, but training with guys that are considerably bigger, faster, and stronger was the best way. But you know what? At first, I sucked compared to them. I was not as good. I came from being one of the best to being one of the worst. Now, a lot of people have taken that very personal, let their ego in the way, but no, it's an opportunity. So it translates as well with business. You want to surround yourself with people that are smarter, richer, more successful. You can learn from them, and they can impart onto you a lot of their know-how. The reality is this: surround yourself with fucking horrible mindset and it will infect you.
It'll drag you down.
Mindsets are like viruses, they're infectious. So if you surround yourself with good people, and I really like the whole like you're nothing but the sum of the 5 people you surround yourself with.
That's very true.
Very, very important. So with that being said, it's important not to let jealousy get in the way. And that's sadly what a lot of people do. Instead of seeing it as a challenge or as an opportunity, they let themselves be dragged down.
Unfortunately, that's the way most human brains are wired. It's never going to change. It's always been like that. People who are or have less than what other people have, they're going to get envious, they're going to get jealous, they're going to get angry, all these things.
And the standard of living has been increasing. You're definitely right. We have more opportunity today than ever. Now, however, we do, complain and bitch and keep people accountable.
Yes.
And I will continuously do this because at the same time, the flip side, and this is a Canadian mentality I despise, because again, with hockey, I was taught something completely different. And I credit a lot of hockey and my coaches for who I became today. So a lot of Canadians will say, well, it could be worse. You could be living in Afghanistan or Iraq, or God forbid, Syria these days, or Ukraine. But the reality is, you're correct. We could be. It could be worse. But I was also always taught never to compare myself to worse, always to compare myself to better. So I aspire for more for this country, for my fellow countrymen, for you, for me, for Shamar over there, for everyone. I want the best. So sure, I can appreciate that we're doing better than others, but I know the potential we have. And not hitting that potential is actually not only a shame, but it's a downright insult to all the other places that don't have, or the other people that don't have the opportunity we do. We're not truly reaching our potential. So I look at what we can be, and that's why we complain and hold the people above us accountable, because it could be better, and we ought to aspire to more, always more, never be satisfied.
Do you think Trump getting elected is going to help us become a better country?
Well, if we become a 51st state.
But like in all seriousness, do you think it'll help us?
In the short term, no. In the short term, it's quite the opposite. And again, because we're very combative here. We defend Canada, and we think we're the best. We have legitimately the skewed perception in the U.S. is worse off than we are, right?
Yeah.
We have like this Canadian elitism.
Yeah.
Elitism.
I think that's a word. Elitism.
Elitism, yeah.
Or elite mind thinking, if it's not.
Elite mindset, yeah.
Sure.
And what it does, again, it prevents us from seeing the truth. They're faring better than us in just about every category. I think, however, the energy of Trump and his cabinet and the people he surrounds himself with is infectious. People see how much, the reality is he's accomplished more, I think, than the Biden crime family. And I'll say it today because Biden pardoned his entire family.
I know, crazy.
Today. Okay, sorry, but
including Fauci. Including Fauci. Fauci was under the gun too.
Oh, he
and
was.
And Fauci knew that he was going to get in trouble. He lied under oath. He did a couple of other things too. I don't know all the details, but why did he? So Fauci, I never did anything. I never lied. Why did Biden have to pardon you?
Exactly. And same thing with his entire family. We're not talking just Hunter here.
I know.
His last act was pardoning his entire family for the last 10 years or something like that.
Yeah.
For any potential crime. Come on, fuck. What's hidden?
Yeah.
But I digress. I will call him the Biden crime family now because it's confirmed. By the way, when you do sign a clemency or a pardon, it indirectly admits wrongdoing. Okay, you're not admitting it, but the way it's structured, it's admitting there was a crime in the first place. So, digress from that. Trump, in between his election and inauguration today, I think has accomplished more, even though he was not even in office, than the entire Biden crime family has in 4 fucking years for the country, for the well-being of the American people. So when you see how fast things can move with an actual entrepreneur, someone who's driven and motivated and ambitious, I think it kind of awakens everyone else. We're used to things taking forever. We're used to things just kind of like slugging along day by day.
You're talking Canada now?
Canada. And the rest of the world. Europe is the same, right?
Yeah, but there's too many cooks in the kitchen. Nothing gets done.
Yes. But with Trump, and this cracks me up too, today I think he's going to be signing roughly 200 executive orders. That's insane, right?
Yeah.
And one of his aides, actually, and he quoted that Trump, he said, one of my aides recommended that we spread those 200 executive order over a week. And I said, no, we're doing it today. But that's the mindset. Why push something that can be done today to tomorrow? You know, fuck it, let's get it done now.
Yeah.
You know? So I think that's going to infect a little bit of Canada.
Yeah.
A Ipsos poll came out. I don't know if you saw that one. That surprised me, and I was actually very happy with that. So the poll came out, and it surveyed Canadians 18 to 35. 43% of them said they were open to being integrated within the United States.
Interesting.
43% of the youth. And there's a huge divide, however, between the older Canadian generation and the youth. And that kind of like got me thinking. I think it's because a lot of the boomers still remember the heydays of Canada, right? And Canada's not too bad for them, by the way, because they have all their fucking assets. Life has been
and they still have a lot of trust and belief in the legacy media. CBC back in the day was a great network. They would actually journal. They were journalists. They would hold the governments accountable. That's the point of media institutions, is to hold the governments accountable, report on the news, actual news, and not get lent opinions based on the news or to skew the facts, which is what CBC does today. It's what a lot of Fox does the same thing on the right, and
it's become political.
It's absolutely become political.
It's propaganda.
So when you speak to the boomers, even my dad, my mom not so much, but my dad, he doesn't have as much trust as he did 5 years ago. He's starting to kind of see it. But number one, he can't be bothered. He's like retired. He's 66. He doesn't really give a shit. And that's most boomers, how they feel. Yeah. But number two, he remembers the heyday, like you said, of Canada being a Canada Strong and having CBC that would actually report on the news. Yeah. That's not the case anymore today. But like I was eating dinner the other day. I was by myself. And I heard this gentleman behind me. I was in Tariff. Tariff is or the West Island of Montreal. Liberal. It'll be liberal for the next, I'd say 10 years. I'd wait for the baby boomers to slowly die off, not to be morbid, but for them to, pass along and stuff. Life, yeah. But you're right. The value of their house has doubled. So they're rich off their house. They've been following the same recipe their whole entire lives. It's worked very well for them. So they're going to continue to follow it. And one guy, I remember he was English speaking as well. He was like upset. He was speaking with his wife. He goes, I will never vote conservative for my entire life. He doesn't even know what the political platform of the conservatives is. It doesn't matter. He's going to vote liberal. He'll vote liberal 10 times out of 10.
It's a liberal stronghold.
Yes, he'll vote bloc, I bet you, before he'll vote for conservatives. If you're someone living in the West Island or like specific segments of Toronto, they're just liberal. It is changing, but that's really good to hear. And Trump, we can talk about this too right before we get into like tariffs and stuff. So for those that think TikTok is banned, it's not banned.
It's bad.
It's not banned. So I don't know what's going to happen. I wrote down some notes and stuff from the podcast I was listening to. It is not banned. And I don't know why they didn't ban it.
It was banned for 24 hours.
Was it 20? Yeah.
24 hours.
I was just in the US. My girlfriend tried to get on to TikTok. It didn't work. And then she tried again the next day and she's like, oh, it's working. Yeah. And when you opened it, it said at the front, thanks to President Trump, you can now go back on TikTok. And I'm looking at it going, what the hell? Okay, I guess it's not banned. And it specifically said, thanks to President Donald Trump, TikTok is not banned in the United States. Very interesting. But he was talking about it, saying that one of the reasons why they won the Young vote, again, he's a marketing and branding genius. And whether it was his son or his aides or his team, whatever, he went on all the podcasts. He was on Instagram. He was on TikTok. It was kind of a similar political campaign that they ran back in 2016. It was very new to go onto Facebook ads. He was on Twitter. Remember at the beginning when he was going on Twitter or X today, and all the other politicians are going, what the hell is this? Why are you going on Twitter? You shouldn't be on Twitter.
This tweet storms at 3 a.m.
Single politician today, every politician is on X today. Yep. Every one of them. Because you cut out the middleman. You cut out the media. You can directly deliver the message that you want to deliver. That's the point of these social media platforms.
Or pump your shit coin.
or that. Yeah, all that stuff. The younger demographic, 18 to 35, like you said, are definitely becoming, especially amongst the men, are becoming conservative. They're all becoming conservative. Very, very, very interesting.
Yeah, and that gave me hope because I was not expecting 43. That's huge. Again, being
that number is going to increase.
Probably will because again, we're going to compare ourselves more and more to the U.S. and I think we're going to feel some pain. I think the tariffs are going to come. I think they're going to.
Yeah, you want to talk about tariffs? Okay, so what do you think they're going to tariff?
Well, okay, so
and maybe I want to hear your opinion first. Maybe I'll be able to play devil's advocate, but I'd like to see what you think they're going to tariff.
Personally, I haven't really given much thought on exactly what they will tariff. I think it could go as far, for real, as putting a blanket 25% on everything as a negotiation tactic. A bit like TikTok was banned for 24 hours, just to make people realize like, hey, I think he could do something similar. Obviously, he's going to go for the automobile industry. That's number one. Even today during his speech, he mentioned that, cars will be built in America and they'll bring back, the heydays of Detroit, right? Okay, great. So cars, I think are going to be, tariffed. Lumber, perhaps. Definitely. Okay, so that's another thing too. And this is a complicated topic, because we have it's with milk and eggs and shit,
Oh, yeah.
What's it called?
Cheese and stuff
Yeah.
And the farmers in Vermont are pissed off about it. Because basically cheese coming from Vermont, we tariff the hell out of it so that they can't sell their cheese in Quebec. I know I can't speak for the other provinces, but I know for a fact in Quebec, I don't know if it's the Quebec government doing it or if it's the federal government. It's the Quebec government, yeah. Do you know this too? Just kind of a little tangent here. Interprovincial tariffs amongst Canada. Did you know that Quebec has an average 25% interprovincial tariff?
I had no idea.
Ontario's like 18. So not only, this is one of the reasons why the cost of living in Canada is so damn expensive. Like on top of many other reasons, but it's basically, so if you want to have, let's say, blueberries or I don't know all the items and what's specifically tariffed and what isn't, but there's a lot of stuff that comes into Quebec that is tariffed at 25%. That's the average.
But you know, that's another, by the way.
Think about that. So it's like we keep talking about this cost of living crisis, and so Canadians want to protect Canadian industry, and then you have provinces trying to
fucking one another over.
Well, trying to protect provincial industry. When you're trying to, as Quebecers, if you want to get the lowest cost product, let's say the lowest cost grain comes from Saskatchewan. Well, you want to import it from Saskatchewan. There's tariffs that the Quebec government will charge. Again, I don't know if they're actually specifically tariffing grain, but interprovincial tariffs in Canada are absolutely, like, they're astronomical. They're massive. So this just, again, adds to the cost of living. Like, there's so many things that add to our goddamn cost of living. It's so fucking expensive to live here in Canada. Our dollar is getting fucking hammered. And for those that don't understand it, when your dollar is weak, we import a lot of stuff. So any product, any service, any food that we're importing from outside of Canada, we have to pay in Canadian dollars. If our dollar is getting hammered, it costs us, it's more expensive for us as Canadians. So we have that. We have the carbon tax. We have the tax, when we've talked about this before, your income tax, the corporate tax, the this tax, the digital services tax. There's tax. Yeah, it doesn't fucking stop.
And every time, by the way, we need money, what do we think about? More tax.
Yes.
The point you're making, I had no idea, by the way. You just legit educated me on the fact that there's interprovincial tariffs.
Dude, they're massive. They're massive.
The only thing I knew was that you're not allowed to import wine or like liquor, alcohol from out of province, which I thought was fucking stupid. But now that's even stupider. And by the way, that makes a case for becoming a state, because in the US, interstate commerce is supposed to be fucking free.
The average, to put this into comparison, and again, I'm getting all this data from the Loonie Hour. So Quebec was 25%, Ontario was 18 or 19. Anyway, it was double digits, it was in the teens. And then to put that into perspective, the interstate average tariff in the United States of America, the average is 3%. We're in the teens in Canada.
Wild.
So they trade amongst each other from state to state a lot more freely, which drives down the cost of goods and services. And they charge less tax, and we can go on for days and days about that. But I just want to say, so I'll add this in here. Do I think Trump is going to tariff? And again, I got this from the Loonie Hour. There's no way in hell he's going to tariff oil or energy. Without going into all the details, it would indirectly make oil and gas at the gas pump more expensive for Americans. That is a massive, massive, massive. It's very important for Donald Trump to make sure that gasoline remains affordable. I don't think there's any chance in hell that he's ever going to tax energy. With that being said, the fact that right now in Canada, if we have, and they're talking about this, and we were talking about this before the podcast got started, if the Liberals decide to tariff oil, so oil going to the United States, and they're automatically going to tariff it themselves to use as a negotiating tactic with Donald Trump. I could see them doing this because they do not like Alberta. This would be absolutely detrimental for the Canadian economy and our standard of living. And so all the people that are in the comments, if this ends up getting clipped, are going to say, well, oil is only 3.2% of Canada's GDP. Okay, fine. When we trade oil with the United States or anyone else, we're getting hard currency. So this, again, without going into all the economic details, this is going to keep our dollar up. If we tariff oil, if you think our dollar is weak today, wait until we tariff oil, and because people are just going to stop buying less Canadian oil. Watch what's going to happen to our standard of living. And we're already in like a very delicate position. And so Danielle Smith, what she's doing right now is basically like, this is why she didn't want to sign the statement, the joint statement from all the provinces. And I think the federal government was there too, but basically saying, hey, United States, if you guys are going to tariff us, this is what we're prepared to tariff. And Danielle Smith said, I'm not signing that. And in other words, she's saying, I'm not interested in playing a game of chicken with the United States, the biggest economy in the world, our biggest trading partner, our most important trading partner. And right now, they are actually propping up or keeping the Canadian economy afloat because we can still sell them our oil. So for all these green lovers that are going to be in the comments or anything like that, if you guys think we get rid of oil, that we're not going to suffer the consequences, you're out to lunch.
I agree, but I'm gonna push a little further. I'm gonna play the devil's advocate and say he has the ability and might even tariff energy for 2 reasons. The first is,
I don't think he will.
We'll know within a few fucking years.
And actually, sorry, here I got to cut you off, and I'm gonna give you one more argument why I don't think he will. Basically, it's Donald Trump saying, and I agree 100% with the guys on Loonie Hour. He's using the tariff threat as a negotiating tactic. And what he's saying to Canada is, you guys need to take security seriously. So the first and most important part is the 2% NATO spend on defense. We're not keeping up with that. And Trudeau said it's not going to be until like 2032 that we're going to get up to the 2%. They're saying that's unacceptable. A second point, and you've touched on this many times, China right now has a lot of control. They control over 60% of the raw earth materials that are used to build microchips for computers and everything like that. So basically, they have a lot of control over the earth's minerals to build stuff that we need to use in our everyday life. And they have a lot of influence. They own a lot of mines in Canada as well. So the United States are sitting there going, hey, hold on a second here. We're giving you guys a security guarantee. China has a lot of raw earth minerals that they can use against us. And we're now finding out that they actually own a lot of mines in Canada as well. So they're looking at that as a security threat as well.
It is.
So the United States are basically just saying, hey, give us the 2%, secure the borders, get China the hell out of here. We are your partner, not China.
Yeah.
And I think Trump is using the tariffs as a threat. I don't think he'll actually tariff. Maybe I'm wrong. No one knows. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think he's basically just saying, hey, get your security up, make sure everything is up to snuff. If you do, we're not going to tariff you. That's my opinion from the hypothesis and the information that I've collected. And again, I'll just go back to the same point. He is not going to tariff oil. I don't think he'll tariff oil or energy coming from Alberta because it will make gasoline more expensive for Americans as well. That's the only reason. If it wouldn't, I would have a different opinion. But it is going to make gasoline more expensive for Americans. That is a fact. It's going to get more expensive for them. So that's why, or the biggest reason why I don't think he will tariff oil. Will he tariff other goods and services? Perhaps, but definitely not oil. I don't see that happening.
And your analysis, I think, is spot on. First of all, he, being a master negotiator, he's great at that. He's going to make, and this is a Trump tactic, this is a Trump playbook. You make wild, bold claims or offers that are sometimes even insulting.
To get everyone's attention.
To get attention.
Yep.
And then in private, your actual ask is much more reasonable. And then in comparison, in contrast, it seems fair. So yes, I agree from that standpoint. The reason why he could still, in my humble opinion, go after energy for tariffs,
we might do it ourselves.
We might.
The federal government might do it ourselves.
We might just fucking kick off the hostilities. You know what I mean? So, that's a very good point.
But like, again, I'm sorry to cut you off, but like, it would not surprise me one bit if the Liberal government today decided to tariff oil that is being sold to the United States. Like, I would not even be surprised. They don't know what they're doing.
They don't. They
you know what I mean? Like, imagine we do that. Like, oh, well, let's just light the country on fire on the way out. I said, I hope they don't light the country on fire on the way out. They might. They fucking might.
It's Trump's last term, right? Yeah. It's the end of his political life, but also life. I mean, he's old, right? His level of fucks now is zero. By the way, compare his official portrait from before to today. It went from like smiley hopeful to now he looks like he's going to fucking war. He looks like he's mean mugging people. Yeah. So I think, and again, to talk about Thatcher, she really shifted the economy of the UK. She turned it around. It was going poorly. She came into office and it became worse. But then it got better. And a good quote that I like is that when you clean your bedroom, for example, it always gets messier before it gets cleaner, right? And that's what Thatcher did. It would not surprise me that Trump would tariff energy. And you're right, it would cost more in the US.
But why would he? But why would he tariff it?
To make a point, to make a statement, to show, look, first of all, we have a better economy. We can weather a storm longer than you. He can go under siege, right? He could be under siege for longer.
You think he would cut off his nose despite his face? Like
because overnight after that, once he win, and he will, like he's gonna win that war.
But
then he gets what he wants.
But as far as Holman, the borders are the new borders are, or whatever he's called. He looks like a bulldog. The immigration guy.
Oh yeah, the border czar.
Yeah. So he
Hoffman,
or
I think
whatever he's called. No, it's Holdman. Holdman. And so. Again, and he seems like a straight shooter. I would say he's a straight shooter.
But he was there on the last time, on Trump's 2016 to 2020.
Yes, but basically, so a Canadian, I think it was CTV, they were interviewing him and said, how are the negotiations or discussions going with regards to border security in Canada? Yeah. He said they're actually going very well. He said Canada is listening to us. They're taking our demands seriously, as they should. So again, just back to the point. If Canada says, okay, hold on, whoa, like relax, like what tariffs, 25%? What do you want? So my point is, if Canada is taking these threats seriously, which it looks like they are, why would he still tariff us?
Oh, of course. If Canada plays ball, he has no need to. I agree with you. And right now, I think what we're seeing is a government doing a typical government thing, publicly to Canadians in front of everyone saying, no, we're going to hold against Trump.
We're going to hold the line.
We're going to hold the line. Yeah. But then in the back office, in the back rooms, they're actually fucking bending over.
They're on their knees.
Like, Daddy.
Please, sir.
Yeah, I know.
Please, sir. And what do you need?
We can see that just with the fact that within 72 hours of Trump threatening tariffs, who flew to Mar-a-Lago? Fucking Trudeau. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Trudeau flew right away.
Like a little lapdog. Yeah. Like a little lapdog. It was hilarious. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm saying if Canada, we decide to go to war, I'm sure the U.S. would put the tariffs. However, if we play ball and we do what we're told to do, which by the way would benefit Canada as well, by all means, there's no need. Trump is not and I really mean that, he's not a vicious man in the sense that he's not out to hurt people.
He's not there to fuck us. He's there to make...
He's vicious, meaning he will do what needs to get done.
But if it benefits him and it benefits America, he's an America first guy. If it benefits his country as well, and Canada having tighter security does benefit the United States, he's okay with that.
And us as well, by the way.
So it's a win-win for both of us. And I've always thought that too. It's like, I never understood. It seems like Trudeau, and again, we've talked about this before. I don't know. It's like they're almost okay with China being and having political influence in Canada, and China does have political influence in Canada. Go to British Columbia, man, dude. They legit they have influence.
British China, you
mean? But it's like they have influence, and the United States are saying, "Hey, we're your partner, not China. Pick a side. Exactly. If you're friends with China, you can't be friends with us. And by the way, you live next door to us, so you're going to be friends with us."
Yeah.
And I would be saying the same thing. Be like, China is clearly a threat to the United States and to the rest of the West and to a lot of other places. I would definitely say that, the CCP has shown they can be dangerous. And anyone to say otherwise is being naive. You have your head in the sand. They are dangerous. So the United States are just saying, take the threats of China seriously. Make your border security more up to snuff. Put the 2% for NATO.
Yeah.
You guys do all these rules. We're not going to tariff you. Some people are going to say, "Oh, Trump's a madman. He's going to still tariff us."
You know what?
I doubt it, but who the hell knows? But
he is a madman. You know what? He's a madman who I personally think has the best interests of his country at heart, period. And sometimes you need to be a madman, by the way. You need to do what's unpopular.
Yeah.
We mentioned quickly the Bruv party with Tate, right? But you know what he says, and it's true. He's like, I'm willing to be hated to do what needs to get done to improve the lives
of... Britain restores underlying values. And you know what? Here, let's just stay on this a little bit. We can have fun with this. Is this just a political stunt right now just to get more views? Perhaps. Maybe he actually does have intentions. Then he'll realize how hard it is. But I will say this about Andrew Tate. He is a marketing genius, very similar to Donald Trump.
Yep.
He knows how to brand himself. Is he going to win the next election in the UK? No, he's not. But he made a good point. He does have a lot of the younger vote. Yep. In 10 years, if he actually sticks with this, I don't think he'll actually stick with it. But if he does, I'm not going to say he would win, but I wouldn't be surprised if he did end up winning. I think he's done too many things, like the camera girl stuff, and he said too many things online that are
fair,
like pretty offside. Like even for me, there was some stuff that he was saying, and I was just like, dude, like you can't be saying that.
I agree, but at the same time, I mean, look, listen, grab her by the pussy fucking was said once upon a time in front of the camera, and now he's the 45th and 47th president of the U.S.
Yeah.
I think people are discounting Tate for one very good reason. They think it's impossible, and they also think that in the short term it won't happen. And I think they're right. It's very improbable, near impossible, and in the short term it won't happen. But that's the thing. People give up right away when something can be done quickly and easily. Tate's overcome the odds more than once. I mean, he did go toe-to-toe with the Romanian government.
Crazy.
Was jailed, and now he claimed his innocence, and now he is innocent, and they've dropped all charges.
Yeah, they dropped the case.
Even though he was jailed for, 6 months,
Something like that.
Something like that. So he's gone up against the odds. If you give yourself who said, I think it was Tony Robbins. He's like, people overestimate what they can get done in the span of 1 year, but So let me rephrase that. Tony Robbins said this. He's like, people overestimate how much they can achieve in the span of 1 year, but they severely underestimate how much they can accomplish in the span of a decade. So and he said it. Tate said, it won't be now, but in the next 10 years, I will become prime minister. Yeah. He's right about the demographic.
Yep.
And he's also right that the more you chip away at it and you get punched, you become the underdog, or you start as the underdog, and the more you refuse to give up, the more you grow in power. People love an underdog, and we respect, inherently humans, we respect people who refuse to fucking quit. And in a very small, and I mean minute way, I personally seen it or lived it. There was this guy who absolutely wanted to get hired by us at BizBiz, and at first I completely disregarded him. Honestly, didn't have the experience, didn't fucking stand out, didn't really care for the guy. He just kept coming back and coming back and coming back and coming back and coming back.
Did you hire him?
At first it was annoying, but then eventually I just had to relent and give this guy credit and respect. And I'm like, fuck, if you're willing to embarrass yourself to this extent, you're solid. And we brought him on board.
Was he a good employee?
He was, he was a go-getter. He had to learn a lot at first. Yeah. I expected that. But his mentality, his attitude, that you can't teach.
No.
You can't teach that to someone. And he was an excellent guy when it came to that. I trusted this guy, Yeah. So ultimately, if you don't give up, and if he doesn't give up, I think in the next 10 to 15 years, he could be a contender. I don't know where it's going to go. Politics is dirty. It's fucking rough. It's a life that I personally would never want to live.
No.
I have some friends in politics, and I see a little bit the
how the sausage is made.
Oh fuck yeah! It's if you think hot dogs are dirty, that pink goo is dirty. Ooh, politics is worse.
I would like to discuss. So the front runners for the Liberal government, and this is changing very, very, very quickly. So we got Mark Carney, who looks like it's going to be the front runner. I have heard that they're not even going to go through an election. So how it works with the Liberal Party, it's not the same for Conservatives. Yeah. This is very interesting. Conservatives, to elect the representative to run the government, you have to give proof that you are a Canadian citizen. Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
The Liberal government, to elect the nominee to run the Liberal government federally, you do not have to prove that you are a Canadian citizen.
Yeah,
so in theory, you could have a temporary foreign worker, you could have a temporary student, you can have the, I don't know why they do it that way, but
I can tell you why.
But that's what they do. So right now, front runners, Mark Carney, Chrystia Freeland, I would say the third, Frank Baylis. So he's like the pharma guy, business guy. I don't think he's going to win though, but I would say basically Chrystia Freeland, Mark Carney, and what I was saying from what I've heard, they're not even going to go through an election. They're just going to appoint Mark Carney. Again, this is speculation. This is what I've heard. They're not even going to go to an election to elect the next front runner for the Liberal government. That's what I've heard.
I personally haven't heard that, but at the same time, it would not surprise me because it is.
They're going to do the same thing they did with Joe Biden.
Yeah, pretty much
the exact same thing, and they're probably looking at the United States, going, "Well, they just did it. Nothing actually happened. So why don't we just do it here too?" And then there's also the fact that. So the media is definitely spinning Mark Carney as that's who they're definitely pushing. It's another. He's a globalist dude. But let's get into these candidates. I know you have a lot to say about Mark Carney, so let's get started.
Well, a couple things. First, just to touch on the Liberal kind of leadership race, people have to keep in mind that whoever is appointed or elected to be the Liberal leader will, by the same token, become the Prime Minister of Canada for at least a few months, if not half a year, right? That would be disastrous if they just appoint someone. It's fucked up. It's insane. Personally, I think it's anti-democratic. But interestingly enough, though, about the leadership race, if they do hold a vote, anyone can register to be a liberal voter. All right.
Yeah.
And I've already said this to a bunch of my friends. I will register as a liberal and vote for the fucking Indian guy who doesn't speak French just for shits and gigs. I'm just going to vote for the shittiest candidate ever to fuck everything.
That was a funny clip.
Oh, man.
It's like, and the guy on CBC, the bald guy, he's a hardcore liberal, and he actually had a good reaction. So the Indian guy goes, "No, it's not important to speak French."
It's like, and
the guy starts laughing.
He's like, "And you're French?" No. no French? No French.
And he goes, "Surely it's, it matters to Quebec voters that you speak French."
He's like,
no, it doesn't. He's like, okay.
The comments on that cracked me up. People were saying like, "Fuck, he can't speak French. He can't even speak English." Like, I mean, Jesus fuck, this is the liberal politics.
Yeah.
So I will be voting for him. I'm telling you right now. I'm pledging my vote for this guy. I love him. Right.
What's his name? I don't even know his name.
Don't fucking care. It's the only Indian guy. I'm voting for the Indian guy.
Okay.
All right. That's the future of Canada. So I gotta be serious for this fucking moment because I'm about to talk shit about Carney.
Okay.
I gotta say though, from the fucking moment he announced his candidacy to be the next leader of the Liberal Party, the media came out and drove. You could tell right away he's the establishment's chosen one, right? It is so obvious. And
they have a drool cup for him.
Fuck, it's ridiculous. Yeah. Every time I see that, every time I see the media just fucking legit sucking
ding dong.
Thank you. Sucking up to a person, I'm like, this guy is no for me. It's always going to be a no.
Yeah.
Now, I love the fact, and Canadians are actually falling for it. Liberal people, left-leaning people are falling for it. Carney is the ultimate outsider. He's an outsider. He's never been a politician, right? He's always been outside. He's not even part of the government right now. So this guy will turn the Liberals around. Well, guys, I'm here to tell you about his resume. A little bit about Mark Carney. First of all, the outsider, with his Harvard and Oxford degree, right? So elite right there. And that's good. And look, I'm not saying education is bad.
And by the way, I know you agree with this. Mm-hmm. He is not stupid. He's a very smart guy.
He's not stupid.
And he is to be taken seriously.
Oh, fuck yeah.
In
a bad way. Like, I'm scared of him.
Yeah, but he definitely represents the globalist agenda.
Yes.
And everything that Donald Trump and I would say the average person is trying to get away from, all this globalism. Mm-hmm. They want to go back to populism, which means, policies for the little guy.
Yeah.
We don't care about sending money to Ukraine. We don't care about sending money to this country or that country. We don't care about this foreign war. Mm-hmm. Let's take care of our people in our country first. This is what's happening in the West right now, and this is why there's a big shift from left-leaning policies over to right-wing policies. They are populist governments. They are there to, in theory, to protect the little guy. Is that what's going to actually happen in practice? Remains to be seen.
We shall see.
But the people are voting in democratic countries saying, we don't want all this mass immigration where I can't go see a doctor anymore. My school is more expensive. This is more expensive. That's more expensive. I can't live. The cost of housing is out of control. People are fed up. There's a massive disconnect between the people in power and the average person. This is why we are voting for change.
Yeah.
This is happening across the West. The pendulum is swinging the other way without a doubt. And the media represent the establishment, like you said. They represent this globalism, especially how systems are today. And this is why, sorry for this rant, but this is why the neocons and the liberal government today, they represent the elite. This is why they want to keep sending money in Ukraine. The elite in Europe want the war in Ukraine to continue because if Donald Trump pulls out of Ukraine, Europe, they don't have an army themselves. They can't take care of themselves. They want the US to remain involved in Ukraine because that indirectly means they remain involved in Europe. Europe is on the brink of being dissolved. They're becoming irrelevant, and they know they are. Mm-hmm. This is what happens when you have all these crazy climate policies and the cost of energy is out of control. You want to heat your building, it's so expensive. And people are saying, hey, the cost of living 15 years ago was reasonable. Today it's not. Mm-hmm. I don't want to vote for you anymore. And this is why the establishment and all the medias, they're freaking out over Donald Trump because he represents an America first ethos. Continue.
It went from Carney to America.
Yeah,
but you're making
back to Carney.
But your points are right, by the way. Your points are absolutely correct, and it's very true. And this is exactly why I want to shit on Carney right now because he's branding himself as the outsider.
Yes,
but he's not. Right. So again, this is the background of Mark Carney. Okay, he went to Harvard and Oxford. Good. Not a big deal. But again, elitist, right? He spent 13 years at Goldman Sachs, right? You're going to tell me that's not, come on. Okay?
Elitist, yep.
And then he ran the Bank of Canada.
Yep.
And eventually the Bank of England.
Yep.
So you want to talk about elite bankers, top of the world, central banks? He ran 2 central banks.
Was he like in charge of the UK as well? I didn't know that.
Because he's also a British citizen.
I knew he was part of it. I didn't know he ran the Bank of England as well. Oh, I didn't know that.
He was chosen to lead the Bank of England.
Interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
The governor of the Bank of England.
Interesting.
And then on top of that, he was a UN special envoy. So all the globalists in the UN, he's there. Oh, yeah, my favorite. Chairing Brookfield Asset Management.
Okay.
Brookfield Asset Management is one of the largest asset management company here in Canada, right?
Okay.
You want to talk about like, fucking funds fucking up the economy and, buying properties and whatnot? Yeah, Brookfield.
They're big pension they're managed pension funds, I would assume?
No, it's more like a BlackRock. You see like Canada's BlackRock, if you will.
Okay, got
it. He served on the boards of Bloomberg, PIMCO, Stripe.
Okay.
All right. So again, huge freaking payment companies, or Bloomberg, obviously not a payment company, but a financial company.
Yeah.
And he belongs to exclusive clubs like the Group of 30, the Bilderbergs, the Peterson Institute for International Economics, and my favorite, the World Economic Forum.
I thought you were going to leave that one out, but you saved the best for last.
Baby. So you're looking
so is Chrystia Freeland.
Yeah, I know, for sure, Oh, and by the way, his father ran as a liberal. So if you want to say that he was not involved politically, he ran as a liberal. And Mark Carney himself served as Trudeau's economic advisor for the last little while.
Yes.
So he is involved with the government.
I did know that, yes.
Not an elected official, but he's involved with the government nonetheless.
Yeah.
Right? So you want to say he's an outsider. I mean, this is the most insider guy there is. This is more insider, I would say, even than fucking Trudeau, who came from the freaking prime minister's family.
Yeah.
So that guy scares the shit out of me because it spells globalist. It spells everything I personally stand against. And it's just another elite person who's going to come. And he's already gaslighting you. He's already lying to you, saying I'm an outsider. I mean, he can't even be honest about his background. And people are already going to believe him because, well, he's a big guy. Like, he doesn't care about you. He's the type of guy who's never fucking given a fuck about you. He's just there to enrich himself, his friends, all the same thing. And we'll touch quickly after that, when we move on to the next thing. But the income tax, and it makes you wonder, where does that money go? But so that was Mark Carney. I can't stand that guy. He's probably going to be the Prime Minister of Canada for at least a few months. But yeah.
And I just want to say this too. So Chrystia Freeland and Mark Carney, the media is basically saying, oh yeah, so they're not going to be, one of the first things they're going to get rid of is the carbon tax.
Yeah. Carbon tax Carney. That's his name for a reason.
And this is the most hilarious part about this stupid carbon tax. Everyone hates this carbon tax. Everybody. And if you like this carbon tax, fuck you. You're an idiot. Okay. So they brand it as it puts more money in the pockets for 8 out of 10 Canadians. If it actually put more money in the pockets of 8 out of 10 Canadians, why would you get rid of it? Something's odd.
Yeah,
what's going on there, Elliot? Yeah,
what's going on?
Yeah.
Hey,
I thought we're making money, so this tax makes me richer. Really interesting.
Well, again, it brings it back to the U.S. It's like no one's above the law, except for Fauci, Biden, this guy, that guy. It's the same shit. So we're being gaslit left and right. It's insane, the gaslighting. But again, who believes in this shit? Why do people fucking fall for this? It's just like, look, he's a well-spoken guy. I find him boring, but he's a well-spoken guy. Yeah. And it's true, his background, his accolades, if you wish, are exceptional. That's amazing. That doesn't mean he's the right guy for the job.
Yeah. But I think this is my...
this is my DEI, by the way. I don't want another white man in my office.
Yeah. Well, you just don't want, like, the status quo. Yeah. And I think what's happening now is people are seeing through what these politicians actually represent with regards to policies. And people, people can be simple, but they're not stupid. And I think a lot of people will understand, this is just a continuation of Trudeau's policies, of World Economic Forum policies, of this climate crisis policies. So the Conservatives are most likely going to win. But I will say this, the polls, since Trudeau announced his intention to resign, he hasn't officially resigned yet, since the media has been pushing Carney, the polls are a lot smaller than what they were 3 weeks ago. And way smaller.
That absolutely worries me. Specifically, again, man.
What would happen? Okay, here's a theoretical question. The Liberal government squeaks out another minority government win, what would you do?
Like me personally or us Canadians?
Let's do both. Let's start with Canadians. Like, what would actually happen if these guys, and never underestimate the Liberal government, because when Trudeau came to power to lead the Liberal government as well back in the day, they were way behind in the polls. They came like a bat out of hell, and you got to tip your hat off to them. Politically, they are not a stupid political party. They're very smart.
They know how it works.
Yes, they know how it works. They know how to get people behind them. They have the media machine behind them. Is media as important and as influential as it was back in 2015? No, it isn't, but it's still influential nonetheless. What would happen to Canada if the Liberal government squeaked out a minority government victory?
Everything, the same thing that's been going on for the last 10 years, a decline in our standard of living.
What if we had another 4 years of this?
Continued decline in standard of living. There was and this is fucking interesting, there was a leaked classified document. I think it's still classified, it's not declassified. It was an internal memo in the RCMP going around urging leadership to prepare for what might happen in terms of civil discourse and civil unrest over the next 10 years. Due to the fact that the RCMP recognizes that Canadians might one day wake up to realize that their standard of living has declined so far down and the hope is so far gone that they might rebel or rise up against authority and power. So the RCMP has to be ready for that. When our own federal police recognizes that we're so fucked that Canadians right now are still, fairly kind of like sleeping at the wheel and not really realizing what's going on, but we might wake up one day to realize how screwed we really are and how much we've been lied to, and we might, uprise. There's something to realize.
What's starting to happen right now in the UK?
Oh yeah, you're seeing
like
in
the UK right now. I'm not offering an opinion on immigration in the UK.
Yeah.
But there is civil unrest in the United Kingdom.
There is.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
And people, especially the locals, they are fed up. Some people are going to say because they're racist. Are there racists in that group? For sure. They're more upset about the fact that they're losing their culture and the government is not listening to them.
Yeah.
And they're saying, hey, I want to remain British. We have values. We have British values. This is what the country is built on. I don't like what's happening here. And the government's saying, shut up.
Yeah.
Shut up, you racist. That's what they're uprising against.
Yeah.
And if we were to get another Liberal government, you're right. If the RCMP is saying this, I could definitely see that happening. Where Canadians just
I'll send you. It was published in the National Post. I'll send it to you. For me, it scares the shit out of me when I realize that. It's interesting too because there was a big shift in the 80s in Canada, and it started under Trudeau, father. Before the 80s. We were always a nation of immigrants, and it was always about bringing immigrants here, especially to colonize and to conquer the territories out west, the pastures that were basically empty. But we were still on the principle that immigrants that come here must integrate and must become Canadian, must, abide by Canadian value and become Canadian.
You have to assimilate.
Exactly. In the 80s, under Trudeau, there was a huge shift, which went from immigrants must assimilate to Canadians must accept diversity and differences. So now the onus, the burden fell on Canadians to accept differences and diversity rather than on the immigrants coming here to accept Canadian values. And that's what we've been pushed on now for the last 40 years. And we've gotten to a point now where exactly that. We just don't fucking care. We're apathetic to our own culture. And without culture, and by the way, that's another point too as to why I think the boomers are more likely and inclined to resist becoming, say, the US than the youth generation, because the youth have no sens d'appartenance, no feeling of belonging to Canada anymore. We have no culture here. Whereas the boomers perhaps still recall a time of unity and a sense of like being Canadian, right? But
yeah, there's definitely a massive disconnect between boomers and millennials. Massive.
Huge. Now, you asked, what would I do on a personal level if a Liberal government continues? Well, the same thing that I'm doing right now, Exodus. I believe that throughout history of humankind, the greatest ability to change your well-being and your livelihood and the quality of your life is to change your geography, to change where you live, right? That's what we've always done. I mean, my ancestors came from France. Your ancestors came from Ireland. Yeah, I wasn't sure it was Scotland or Ireland. I knew it was one of the two.
Both.
There you go. Yeah. From the British Isles, right? So
from the Commonwealth.
From the Kingdom. Was it the Republic of Ireland or Northern Ireland? Gotta be careful here.
Well, Catholics. It's probably Northern, I guess.
No, Catholic.
Sorry, Northern was the British.
Yeah,
so the other part.
Yeah, so the Republic.
The Republic.
You're free. You're a free man. But ultimately, I think Canada is doomed. And the most important thing for me in my life is to find a way to leave the country, for me and also for my son.
Would you feel the same way if the Conservatives won a majority?
No, it's too late. I don't think Canada can come back. Or at least I don't think Canada can provide the opportunities and the quality of life that other places can. I think Canada can come back over a few generations, but I don't think that the reality is this: I can look at, okay, do I want to stay here and continue to get raped by taxes daily for a subpar standard of living, or do I want to go somewhere else? I mean, the reality too is this: it's like, with the money I have, for example, I could live like an absolute fucking king in some countries that are cheaper, or I can live very normal middle class in Canada. Why would I want to just be average here when I can be exceptional somewhere else?
And the part that sucks too about Canada, especially if you don't have a lot of money, is you can't afford to leave. So you're stuck here and your quality of living just drops. Like all the people, whatever a country starts shooting itself in the foot, the rich people just leave because they can afford to leave.
Yeah, exactly.
And the people that can't afford to leave are the ones that get stuck with the bag.
People don't realize capital knows no border, right? Yeah. I have the ability to leave. The biggest thing stopping you from leaving right now is visas and residency requirements. And there's ways, by the way, there's some countries I'm looking into, mostly with passive income residency permits, which I do meet the threshold. And I'm looking into it very, very, very seriously. There's some logistical issues that working out, but leaving Canada at this point, I think, is the rational decision for any Canadian who respects himself, for real. Because every day, look, to give you that grind my gear so much. 2 days ago, I called the clinic because my son, who is now 19 months old, needs to do his 18 months appointment, right? Just to check up. I had to call the clinic, I think, 8 days in a row until I got through. Finally got through. Asked to see Dr. So-and-so for the appointment, and I was told she's on medical leave. Perfect, no worries. When is she coming back? Sorry, we can't tell you. Okay, can you refer me to another doctor in the clinic to see my son, for that appointment? Sorry, all pediatricians are fully booked, not accepting new patients. And I'm just there, I'm like, what the fuck? And then she's like, yeah, you can call the CLSC, which is like, bullshit, right? And you can go do it over there. I'm like, nah, I want to go talk to a doctor. I have some questions I want to ask the doctor. This is our healthcare system that I'm paying tens of thousands of fucking dollars a year and I can't even access. And it's not even for me anymore. It's for my fucking son, And I see this and it pisses me off so much. And I'm like, okay, do I respect myself enough to say no more? Or will I continue to get fucking raped, to get abused? Like for me, this is abuse. It's like someone coming home to an abusive relationship day in and day out and just taking it and making excuses and say, yeah, well, it could be worse. Like let's say my boyfriend's beating me up. Yeah, but at least he hasn't killed me, Fuck off, leave, respect yourself enough to leave. Even if we change, and I will be voting Conservative, of course, but even if it's a different government coming in, I think the damage is so far gone. And sadly, I don't think even Poilievre, whom I do like, but I don't think he has the competency that, say, a Trump has to really tackle the challenges we have. The deep state, the unelected bureaucrats that will resist everything he does. Yeah. So I think it's just going to be more of the same.
There was an analogy that I came up with the other day. And so people often associate cutting spending. So that, let's say the Conservatives come in and they cut spending. People often associate cutting spending with cutting social services. And are some social services going to get cut? Yes, most likely. But what ends up happening, here's the analogy. Take the dental care. So the dental care right now, I think they're always bragging about how they spend $1 billion or $2 billion on dental care. It's the equivalent of UNICEF. Remember UNICEF for Halloween, walk around, basically they put money in it and you send it off to UNICEF. It was something like 7 or 8 cents on the dollar actually makes it to giving it to the children that actually need it. The rest is sucked up by the people that work there, the bureaucracy. And it's the same idea here in Canada, same idea in the United States, same idea with, we call it the deep state. It's just the bureaucracy. So the money that's intended to go to program X, it never ends up making it to program X. It just gets sucked up by the people around it that are working on the program, the bureaucrats. So that's what we have here in Canada. And so all of these social services, these housing accelerator funds it's supposed to build housing, but housing somehow got more expensive. These programs don't work because they never get, the money never makes it to the program that the money never makes it to the part where it's supposed to help people. The bureaucrats just end up sucking it, and you have a bunch of people that are doing nothing. They're making these big fat salaries. They're not being productive. That's where your money ends up going. And so the fact that, I mean, the numbers don't lie. The Liberal government have been hiring more people to work for the government.
Yeah.
It's far outpacing the immigration rate that's coming into Canada and the population growth that we're having. Because that's the one argument people say, well, look at our population growth. We're growing by 3, 4, 5% every single year. Therefore, we need more civil servants. It's outpacing the immigration rate as fast as that is. And we have the highest immigration per capita in the world. Maybe not now because it just changed. But so something isn't working. And the concern that I have with the Conservative government, if they were to come into power, yes, federally they can make some changes. But this progressivism, this woke mind virus, if we want to call it that, has made its way into municipal politics. It's made its way into the educational institutions, and the educational institutions teach the future teachers this bullshit.
It's insane.
So basically you have, like, there's a lot of people, we're at the age where we're starting to have kids, and I have some of my friends, their kids are going to school, and they're like, the crap that they're learning in school is insane. And the teachers in our elementary schools are taught at the educational institutions that have been captured by the woke mind virus.
Yeah.
So it's taken a long time to get here, but this is where we're at right now. So Pierre Poilievre definitely has an uphill battle on his hands. Yeah. And Jordan Peterson has always said this. He goes, he agrees with what you just said. He goes, I don't know if Canada is too far gone because the institutions that used to be stable are no longer stable.
Yeah.
So even if we change the federal government, our institutions that fundamentally govern our country, if they're infected, which they are infected right now, he's like, I don't know if we can change that.
It breaks my heart.
It remains to be seen, but yeah, we're in a pickle.
We are, and and I love the analogy of the UNICEF, by the way, okay, or any charity. It's very important to pick, by the way, the charities whose admin fees are not, or charges, or overhead is not too big. And to talk
like, how does someone for I think the guy was making like $1 million a year or something to run a nonprofit. So.
And exactly, to touch on that, okay, I went digging. This was harder than I thought, okay? I managed to find how much money Canadians paid in taxes for the year 2023. That number is fucking hard to find, by the way.
In the aggregate.
How much income tax do you think Canadians paid in 2023?
100 billion.
Fuck. Dude, it's way worse. So the total income tax that Canadians paid in 2023 was $350 billion. But wait.
This is personal income tax.
This is income tax, personal income tax, right? But wait, there's more. Because if we add the GST, the PST, the QST, all the sales taxes, it balloons to $422 billion. But that's not all the taxes the government collects, right? Excise taxes, carbon taxes, tariffs, duties, you name it, right? Royalties.
Yeah.
We can estimate, and this number is goddamn fucking hard to get. So this is a guesstimation here, okay? But roughly $500 billion for the year 2023 was paid by Canadians in taxes. Where the fuck did the money go? Where the fuck? And that's exactly what it is, the bureaucracy.
Yes.
Because, and here's the worst, the kicker, and this just got me thinking, wait, that is not all the money Canada spent because we ran a deficit. That was not even enough money.
And by the way, that deficit, so it's estimated to be $62 billion. Right now with the capital gain, that was with the assumption that the capital gains tax would be at 66%.
Yeah.
The capital gains tax went from 50 to 66. It never passed the House.
Yeah, and now with the prorogued parliament, it's dead.
Yes, and Pierre Poilievre actually explicitly came out, he went on X and said, by the way, when I am the prime minister in June, let's assume, I am going to drop the capital gains tax back to 50%. So it's not written in law.
Yeah.
The CRA, they're collecting it anyways.
You're fucking unelected bureaucrats again.
And by the way, if the if the capital gains tax remained at 50%, the deficit wouldn't be 62. It's going to be 78.
Wow.
So it's almost $80 billion deficit. These people are completely incompetent. And Canadians need to understand that all the taxes we're paying, people automatically think taxes go to people that need it, the less fortunate. Does some of it make it to the less fortunate? Yes, it does. But the vast majority of the taxes that we pay gets sucked up by the bureaucracy, gets sucked up by people that work in Ottawa that don't do anything.
Yeah.
They're stealing money from us.
Absolutely. And that $500 billion, like you said, was not even enough to cover the cost of the government. We had to run a deficit, which, by the way, also includes the fact that we have to print money, which is a tax on everyone. Yes. So we debased and devalued everyone's money in order to pay this deficit. Foreign aid to other countries, we don't give a fuck about, right? Yeah. Legitimately, the Trudeau government, I think we should start a segment for real, okay? Every ludicrous, stupid thing the government spends money on, just to make people realize it, right? I mean, legit paid campaigns in like Ghana or something to teach people not to shit in the streets. You know, I'm not even kidding. There's really like federal government of Canada, like fucking sponsored shit. It's ridiculous, okay? But me, again, it's the foreign aid. It's like fix your own, you know, make your own bed, clean your own room.
Then start to help other people.
People, right? And we're sending billions of dollars. Meanwhile, we get nothing here. And by the way, that $500 billion, okay, that's over $12,000 per Canadian if we assume there's 41 or 42 million Canadians, right? That's kids. That's fucking non-taxpayers. That's everything. That's insane. And by the way, speaking of, and because obviously we had a video that went like, or a few videos actually that went fucking bazookas, right?
Not a big deal.
And I did like scan the comments a little bit here and there. You know, the people defending the services, yeah, but we're in Canada. We have fucking healthcare or whatever. There's this point I wanted to make, right? Let's say you did pay for your healthcare. Let's say it was not covered by the government, right? Let's say these fucking idiots, and I call them idiots, are fucking so stupid. You know, for real. Like I'm getting riled up right now, you know? Is it the chairs? The chairs, like sitting here, it gets you riled up. It's amazing. But, they're like, yeah, but we have free healthcare and this and okay, imagine we didn't, and you had to pay when you went to get your service. Would you feel like you got your money's worth? You went to the ER and you had to pay out of pocket, right? Would you feel like you got fucking taken advantage of, or would you feel like, you know what, it was decent service for the money you spent? The answer is you would feel taken advantage of. It's like if
I haven't seen the doctor. I haven't gone to a regular hospital in 20 years.
There you go.
And I pay private every single time. I have to go get something. And I always pay private.
It doesn't matter where I'm talking about, like going to the DMV, right, the SAC or whatever for your license, right? Going to any government office, Service Canada for collecting EI. It doesn't matter what. If you had to pay out of pocket for every government service you received, would you feel like you were a valued customer and you had your money's worth? The answer is absolutely no. So why do you accept it when it's free but covered through taxation? You don't. You uphold a fucking Tim Hortons worker to a higher standard than you do your own government. I swear to God, if the worker from Tim Hortons, right, treated you and gave you your coffee in the most like delayed, horrible fashion, like you order a double and he gives you like a fucking black coffee, right, and it took an hour to get it, right, and it cost freaking $10 instead of the $2 he quoted you, you'd go back and complain, but yet we accept it with our government. You know, I think what we should do, actually, you know what? Something would get me to stay in Canada. One thing and one thing only, right? We change the entire taxation system. Instead of being prepaid, we go postpaid. All right? We go postpaid.
That'll never happen.
That will never happen, obviously, right? But imagine if you paid no taxes on income, on sales, on like your purchases or anything for the entire year. But at the end of the year, the government accounted, you know, they put it on a line of credit, right? Like the Bank of Canada just fucking gave money away to pay for government expenditure. At the end of the year, you know, the accountant general of Canada, the verificator, what's it called? The in French is vérificateur général. It's the general.
Attorney General.
No, that's the prosecutor thing.
I'm not sure, but
the guy that accounts for the government's office, right? Tabulates, right? Like we do with businesses. We have a year end, right? Or fucking accountant tabulates everything and comes up with this was how much it cost to run the government this year. There's this many taxpayer. Here's the bill. That would get people to change like that. And now we'd hold these people accountable. But instead, we pay first and we get fucked later. And above and beyond, here's the insidious thing. All of our income tax is source deducted for the vast majority of population, right? It's source deducted. Most people, and it blew my mind. Sometimes I ask people, I'm like, yeah, how much are you getting taxed? Well, I don't know. You don't check your pay slip? No, not really. You just get, I don't know, $2,000 deposit in my bank account. They don't even know how much are being taxed. They don't know.
The only people who know are the self-employed people.
Exactly, because they have to, you know, do their taxes and pay afterwards. And by the way, I've never met a self-employed person who's been like, you know what? I wish we got taxed more. It's always some fucking... I'm going to shut up now. But anyways.
We'll wrap it up. Trump just got inaugurated today.
You know what he's doing? I gotta mention this, dude. This is America, real quick.
Yeah, well, we'll finish up with this.
We'll finish up with this because right now Trump is at the whatever stadium they have around DC, and you know what he did? He set up a little desk on top of the stage, the podium, whatever, right? And you know he's doing a rally right now, right? So we're talking tens of thousands of his fans. He set up a little presidential desk, and he's going to be signing in front of everyone all those executive orders. He's doing that right now.
Dude, the guy, you got to give the guy credit, man. Politically, marketing, branding, he's smart, and this is no longer the Republican Party. This is the MAGA Party. They are an America First party. Yeah. Love him or hate him, disagree with his policies, agree with his policies. You got to give the guy credit. They are a hell of a lot more united right now than they were back in 2016 when he first got elected. And I think the Americans, I think the Canadians are waking up. I think a lot of Europeans are waking up. I think a lot of the West is waking up that all of these globalist policies don't work. Yeah. They don't benefit the common man. And I think people are waking up to this. So I wish President Trump the best of luck. And hopefully we can cooperate with him, and hopefully he doesn't tariff us.
MAGA, baby. Yeah. Make America great again.
Thanks,
and
Elliot.
Hopefully Canada as well.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.